Lucasfilm is a hive of depravity and disaster. There is no way around it. The studio cannot do anything right. I'm not being hyperbolic. Seriously, when is the last time Lucasfilm did anything successfully? Oh, I'll tell you. It was back when Luke appeared in the final episode of a series called The Mandalorian. And guess what? Nothing has gone right since. At the helm of it, Kathleen Kennedy. And she has an entire posse of people who can't do anything. We're talking about Leslie Headland. We're talking about the Lucasfilm Star Wars Story Group, and more. And we're going to explain to all of you right now what is happening over there behind the doors of Lucasfilm, as we believe Kathleen Kennedy is getting ready to head out the door and unleash a salvo of extremist and divisive content as she does. All right, folks, welcome back to another fantastic video of excellence here on the WDW Pro channel. It is, as always, a joy to have each and every one of you joining us to discuss what is going on with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. No, this is not a place where negativity reigns. Earlier today, we put out a video about how the Nintendo Cinematic Universe is coming together. Massive revenue explosion for the Mario Brothers franchise after the movie, and all of the glorious things that are happening, including, we believe, Nintendo going directly after the princess line of toys and merchandise that Disney has had a stronghold on forever. That was very fun. Today, well, it's time to call balls and strikes, and it's time to talk about the strikeout that Lucasfilm is having. Joining me to do it is Steve. You know him better as Floral from Under a Rock. And how are you today, sir?
Great. And to start off, I really want to thank you for that big push last night. And so I think we're actually nearing on 100 subs from last night. So thank you so much for your passion, your support, and encouragement over the last several months. It's exciting where things are going and what's going on.
And folks, what we're talking about there is that Floral from Under a Rock is a tremendous YouTube channel attempting to do what Jim Henson did way back in the day with black and white television. And given that he's doing so, and he has been a fantastic contributor here on the channel, we thought it was only apropos that all of us begin to help, assist, and throw that lifeline to get him across the monetization mark. So if you are out there listening, please click on that link in the description below and subscribe to Floral from Under a Rock for fantastic puppetry and content. It's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you have a good time. And it's going to help him get over the line so that we can get him monetized so he can begin to add even more resources into this fantastic thing he's doing, which is, by the way, the opposite of what Lucasfilm is up to. Now, folks, as we get into the content for the day, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithm. When you click it, it's the notification bell. This out of JoBlo by Steve Sieg. Indiana Jones' Kathleen Kennedy says it's entirely possible for Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Fleabag, Helena Shaw, to star in a new film. Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny producer Kathleen Kennedy thinks PWB could lead a Helena Shaw spinoff. Here's what it says. While Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny marks Harrison Ford's final performance as Dr. Henry Walton Indiana Jones Jr., that's called padding out your words, folks, the franchise may continue with another character leading future expedition into the unknown. I'm talking about Indy's goddaughter, Helena Shaw. Phoebe Waller-Bridge brings the character to life in the James Mangold-directed sequel. That's an overstatement. From what I've heard, Helena is a highlight of the new film. Check your ears! And the franchise's future could rest in capable hands. Well, only if those hands are the size of tiny, tiny little doll hands. In a recent interview with Variety, producer Kathleen Kennedy says it's entirely possible for Fleabag to continue the brand. All right, Floral. We've heard it before. We've seen it out of Doomcock and others. This idea that once upon a time, Fleabag was intended to take over the Indiana Jones franchise. We know now that the ending was reshot as opposed to what James Mangold, the director, said, as he was insulting everyone and throwing the ability for legendary composer John Williams to think and remember under the bus. Well, guess what? Perhaps there was an original plan indeed to have Fleabag's character be the lead for the Indiana Jones franchise going forward, and perhaps it was softened a bit given the horrendous reactions perhaps YouTubers out there like Doomcock were completely correct, and perhaps Kathleen Kennedy is stewing, I tell you, like a super woke pile of cabbage stew, Kathleen Kennedy stew, because her Fleabag is not going to lead the franchise no more. And maybe Floral, maybe Steve, she's trying to find some way, some avenue to make it happen again. What do you think?
I think they will do everything they can to make sure it happens again. We know that they don't care about audience reactions. They just care about their own thing. Otherwise, they would have course corrected a long time ago on a lot of different projects. And I mean, it wouldn't shock me if we get an announcement in the next 6-7 months that indie Helena Jones Shaw is going to be coming in her own movie or TV show with a specific date or at least season. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever. I wouldn't put it past them because they don't care. They clearly don't care about the money. They clearly don't care about anything else. So it wouldn't shock me. It's just, that's the thing. It's just at this point, it's just a redundancy, and you're like, okay.
I've got some thoughts here, Steve. Tell me if you think I'm right on this. Let's add the timelines up. I think there's an opportunity for a franchise crossover that could actually bring this character to fruition in a way that would actually please the fans. Are you ready? We know that Helena Shaw is the goddaughter of Indy, according to this movie that nobody will actually consider to be canon within just a few days. But we know it takes place at the end of the 60s. We also know that she has an utter obsession with Indiana. So does Kathleen Kennedy. Now, if you'll recall, Stranger Things happens in the state of Indiana, and it occurs in the 80s. And there are vicious, terrible monsters and fights with the Soviets. I suspect that the way to make this happen, if Kathleen Kennedy is so interested, is that we could have Helena Shaw go to Indiana, a state which bears the name of the person with whom she is determined to usurp, and she could be sucked into the Upside Down and become the actual originating monster there. No, it is not number one. It is Helena. What do you think? Her name even starts with Helena. Get it? This could work.
I think that could work. I think that sounds like feminism.
Hey, listen, 11 could defeat Helena. This works out in so many good ways. It's poetic.
It's true. It's true. And people actually like 11.
Yes. Well, folks, we're being a little facetious there. However, I've racked my brain on any way you could possibly take this character after what she's alleged to do in the movie and make her popular, and that's all I've got. And
based on that, though, like I want to know, like, what's in it for these journalists other than just like their Disney perks to say like she's the best character that in the movie, like she shines out, she stands out. I don't understand like what the motivation is to obviously lie, like, and that's the thing. It's like it's an actual lie. So what's the motivation? Maybe you might actually have some insight into that.
Yes, I do, Steve. It is postmodern spin out of the media as they attempt to fight for the demographics that they believe should be at the top of the power hierarchy.
Okay.
And that's intertwined with their belief that they will be rewarded by the mouse if they do what they're supposed to do as the good little acolytes they are, that if they carry the cheddar for the rat, that they will be given special access. They will be given the premieres. They're better than the rest of the media out there. They're better than the YouTubers, better than the bloggers. And they're on a mission, baby. They are fully intent on making sure that Phoebe Waller-Bridge becomes the face of Indiana Jones. And they don't care about quality because that's part of postmodernism, is it's no longer about truth. And if you don't have truth, then you can't rank order that which is better or worse or anything. That doesn't matter to them at all. All that matters to them is power, and Fleabag is their vehicle to getting higher up in the hierarchy, if you can believe it.
Which she's, though, also supposed to be Tomb Raider or involved in Tomb Raider, right?
So, yes, well, maybe some other studio will have enough sense to say, you know what, we don't feel like losing 100, 200, 300 million.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if her current contract with them is based on the success of Indiana Jones. Like, hey, if you can pull off this artifact show, can you be trusted with this one?
Well, I don't know that will happen, but I do think that if it performs as poorly as we perceive that it will, being one of the most expensive movies ever made and potentially being one of the biggest losses ever for a film at the box office, we'll wait and see. Just a few days until that happens. But if that occurs, then that will certainly give them second thoughts about having her be at the helm. Now, you asked a great question, and we've got a great article as an example. It's not a great article in terms of being, well, a piece of good content, but it is a great article in terms of showing what you're talking about. I want to show you how the media carry the water for Lucasfilm. This out of GeekyTyrant, which I think is the perfect name for articles such as this. Lucasfilm debunks false information about Daisy Ridley's Rey Skywalker Star Wars movie. Let's read. It says a new report surfaced recently for Lucasfilm's upcoming Rey Skywalker movie that was filled with new information about the movie. That report came from Production Weekly. And folks, that is not a publication that is out there sending out crazy, scandalous rumors. That is a production which is meant for the industry insiders to figure out where it is that they can go to get a job working on these productions. It is not any kind of rumor mill. And it said the title of the movie was Star Wars New Jedi Order, and they even offered a brief story summary which reads, set roughly 15 years after Rey's victory over Palpatine and the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel delves into Rey's courageous endeavor to restore the Jedi Order, where she assumes the role of a mentor to two promising young students, a girl and a boy. As their training progresses, it becomes evident that the girl possesses extraordinary abilities destined to emerge as the future leader. And here's what we've got. Production Weekly is a reputable site. Yes, unlike you, but it turns out that they got this one wrong. As this news was spreading, Lucasfilm reached out to IO9 to let them know that the synopsis is largely inaccurate, save for the Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order thing. Oh, so because Lucasfilm immediately reached out to try to squash this, by the way, that's a good sign, that's probably right, because they reached out and said it's largely inaccurate, then that means it's debunked. Wait, I don't think so. Steve, what do you make of this? How fast? It's amazing how fast Lucasfilm reacted, right?
Sounds about the speed of Disney when it comes to anything leaking. So, yeah. I mean, and again, like, because of what it says, it's not a shock, right? If it was all about, like, the boy usurping, and by that I actually do mean usurping, not being better or greater, I would also assume that it was correct. But at the same time, though, this totally is in line with everything we've also heard before this. So, but again, this is where I made a joke on Echo Base, and like, I think Disney's excited that there's a writer's strike.
Well, they should be. They should be excited. There's only one exception to that. Yes, anything that will stop their writers from producing content such as this should make them happy. But they don't include the actual full statement. But folks, I'm here to tell you, in other articles, and I wanted to show this because the exact reason they don't actually provide the full statement from Lucasfilm, that's how they manipulate, right? So everybody who reads this comes away and goes, oh, okay, it was a mistake. No, it was not. Lucasfilm came out and said it's not totally accurate, right? But they didn't deny anything in full. And so essentially Lucasfilm comes out and gives out this very soft statement, well, it's not totally right. And some of it's using some placeholder language probably. And then the media just takes it and runs. These little journalists put that in major quotes, increase the font size on the quote signs for that one.
Which mirrors, though, what happened with all of the whole Zelda movie stuff. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
That's just all of Hollywood, right? That's what they'll do, is they'll either they'll just outright deny it, like in the case of Spider-Man, or they're gonna like with all the Peter Parkers, or it's Zelda, and he denies without actually denying.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, Steve. That is a fantastic point. I'm so glad you brought that up. The way that worked is the Zelda movie was confirmed. Of course, we reported on it exclusively first here on the WDW Pro channel
6 months ago.
6 months ago, folks. You can go back to the very beginning of this channel, which happened in January, and find that video where we first revealed it. We talked about the NCU before anybody else. We're talking about months ahead. And then that was confirmed by others. And then a few weeks ago, the media comes out and says, oh no, Zelda is not here. It's not coming, blah, 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 blah. And you look at the actual quote that was given. And what was the quote? The Zelda movie is not currently in production. Now, what did that mean? Well, folks, it means there's a writer's strike and nothing's in production that was not finished in terms of writing. That's how simple it was. And yet the media, in order to gather clicks and carry the water for entertainment so that they can get their special little swag bags later on, they got to have those Zelda magnets to put on their refrigerator to say, I'm number one. I got a special magnet. It's a collector's edition only provided to the press. They do that. They come out with the articles and they say, there's no Zelda movie. It's confirmed. It's debunked. All a bunch of lies. And they do that so that the media companies later on come out and make the announcement, and they'll act like it's a big surprise and nobody could possibly have predicted this. It's amazing. Ah! That's what they want to do. So thanks, Steve, for bringing that up. It's a perfect example.
I work out.
I think though, Steve, that these folks doing what they do for Lucasfilm, it goes beyond, right?
Oh.
So I think that they actually have some sort of religious fervor for these characters.
Which we've seen in other projects that they've done. Yes,
absolutely. And talking about this situation with the religious fervor, I want to pull up this, and we are going to tread carefully, folks. If you wish we would be more explicit and more direct in what we say in this, just know that perhaps one day we can on Twitter, but here we shall not. Here's what it says from The Direct. Star Wars just cast its first ever You Can Read It actor by Alicia Leach. This from June 22nd. Says the Walt Disney Company has made some huge strides to improve representation across the board. Wish they would do that with their box office returns, eh? And the Star Wars galaxy is no different. Last year, You Can Read It actor Zoe Terakis was cast in the upcoming project Ironheart, becoming the second openly You Can Read It to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Zach Barak from Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019. It looks like Lucasfilm is taking notes too. The Acolyte is set to introduce one of the most diverse casts to date and comes after the award-winning Andor starred in Star Wars' first ever prominent You Can Read It couple. Now, Steve, what I want to talk about, we don't even have to read the rest of this article because here's what I'm intrigued by, and I think the audience should be too. Folks, this is coming from Leslie Headland. She's the showrunner. And by the way, the rumors that she is not going to be credited or she's been fired, she doesn't even work directly for Lucasfilm. She has her own company that is contracted by Lucasfilm, and her work is essentially done. It's like trying to fire somebody who doesn't work for you and already completed the job at your house. But she's not a good person, in my opinion. Now, I don't know her personally, but she worked for Harvey Weinstein for years. The entire industry knew what was going on there. She had to have known what was going on there. She's been promoted to being over this show. Kathleen Kennedy, a person that I don't think is a very nice person either, is the one who pulled her in. And they are behind all of these quote-unquote virtues. And I'm here to say, and Steve, I want your opinion on this, but I'm here to say that these are the most unvirtuous people on the planet to try to be presenting virtue. So whatever you may think about the rightfulness of this or the right side of history or whatever your position is on these issues regarding the bedroom, folks, I'm not here to tell you right from wrong or one way or from the other on this channel. It's about entertainment, but I am here to tell you that the people who are doing this, the people who are virtue signaling, are literally, in my opinion, some of the worst people on the planet who have been associated with some of the worst people doing the worst things to others. And frankly, it's a little offensive to have to sit here and read about how good and diverse and equitable they are when we know that they have been engaged in the past in stuff that is insidious. Steve, your thoughts?
I mean, when it comes to all this kind of stuff, probably one of the best ways that I have to try and frame it is, so for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a pastor. That's my main form of living. So most of these times that's what I approach this stuff from. And so I want to operate in truth as best as I can. I don't get it always perfect. I'm not always great. And maybe we could talk about that some other time. But at the same time, there's this desire to make ourselves look better than we are, especially when we try to cover up our own sin, right? When we cover up our own junk in our lives, the mess, whatever you want to call it, who cares at this point. So obviously they're overcompensating, trying to erase the sins of the past, and it's all a works-based mindset. They want to outdo what they did before, hoping that their good will outshine their bad. But as we all know from all of our own life experiences, our bad will always outdo our good. That's why in order to make up for one insult, you need to give 7 pieces of encouragement to somebody. So there's this, and that's like an actual thing. So I think that what you're seeing is the reason why they double down on it is because they know how broken they are, how much they've failed, but they're thinking this offering will make up for the sins of the past, or it's like an indulgence, right? So it's just an opportunity to keep doing that thing. You guys just ignore what's going on in the background while we get to continue doing this thing. And again, that's maybe how I frame it. Now, I'm not trying to read my own views into it. I think that's just how humanity has always worked and will always work. We try to do things based on works. And instead of just trying to pursue the right thing and do the right thing, we want to do what's right in our own eyes. We want to elevate ourselves. We want to think better, bigger, that like what we're doing matters, because people want to have significance. People want to feel like they're adding value. And when you have done the wrong, you're always going to be feeling that. And so you're always going to try to stuff that down and cover it up with something that you think is better. However, again, the bodies in the closet, they stink, and it hurts, and it permeates. I think that's probably the best way that I can overall address that, because I think that as much as there's probably something nefarious, there's just that baseline human thing going on.
Well, Steve, let's ride on that for a minute.
Okay.
So whatever people may think of the Bible or stories from the Bible, we're not here to proselytize to you. That is not my job. It's not your job. I don't even talk about what my beliefs might even be on this channel. Again, entertainment. But you bring up a great point about how this has been something that is not new. It's something that goes back through history. And I think this is appropriate to bring up in terms of Lucasfilm and what they're up to, and Kathleen Kennedy and what she's up to. I think that the spirit of Cain permeates what Lucasfilm is up to. For those of you who don't know, the very first real humans, not Adam and Eve in the Bible, because, well, they're created by God, but the first two that are really born and experience the full idea of being human from baby until adult, well, that's Cain and Abel. And it starts off with this very dark tale of the very first fully human humans doing horrible things, that being that Cain strikes down his brother. And why does he do it? Well, Cain strikes him down because Cain gives an offering, and the offering is not acceptable. And rather than realizing that he needs to do better, he becomes jealous, envious of his brother, who seems like he's got it together, and he could be more like his brother. But rather than being like Abel, Cain goes and kills him. And Steve, I think what's happening here is, I think that these people cannot produce content that like what was produced in the past. They're incapable of creating beautiful things like what the market wants. And rather than accepting that their sacrifice, their offering is less than, and they need to improve and figure out what's wrong, they strike down the franchises and the characters and the heroes that we love. And it's not as if they're striking down immaterial, unworthy things. They're striking down at the cultural icons that defined generations. Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker, etc. That's what they're after. They're after the cultural defining icons of our era. And they'll strike them down because they cannot compete with them. I think it's the spirit of Cain. Folks, whatever beliefs you may have, at least look for the symbolism there and see if you think it measures up. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I want to add on to that. So my thinking is, even in the story of Cain and Abel, God's actually gracious towards Cain. And Cain is just like he's freaking out after everything's exposed. And Cain's just like, everyone's going to kill me now that this is all happening, and you're casting me away. And God says, I will take care of you. I will look over you. And so some people read into there's a little bit of repentance from Cain. Not explicit, but it is there. And the thing is, and I think with the audiences and Lucasfilm, if Lucasfilm just came out and all of the dirty laundry was aired, and they're like, look, here's where we're at, and just admitted it, the fans, I have complete confidence, would actually be like, okay, and might give them a second chance. But because they keep trying to cover it up, the trust is just gone. And so they've gone the ways of other ancient peoples that are found in the book of Genesis, and they're pursuing that. And what they are slowly experiencing is that wrath that's building until one day it's all just going to collapse. It's all just going to burn, and it's not going to go well. Although they've been given multiple opportunities to change, and they're choosing not to. And it's just, I mean, again, but that's human nature. That's pride, right? So kind of tying that back in.
The word sin from the religious context, the word sin actually comes from a word which means to miss the mark. It's an archery term. And folks, sin can also happen in finances and in the marketplace. These are financial sins. These are marketplace sins that Lucasfilm and Disney have committed over and over and over. They have purposefully missed the mark, and eventually that house of cards will come crashing down. We believe that Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out. We've never said that until the last month or so. Others may have. This channel and myself, we have never said that until about a month ago when we began to hear from our sources that things were changing. And I think Kathleen Kennedy is unleashing a salvo, a barrage of these crazy ideas, this crazy content, in hopes that it will go out there and be part of her legacy, even if it misses the mark with fans, with the market, and with finances. And truly, I believe it will. All right, Steve, a.k.a. Floral from Under a Rock. We're trying to get you those memberships and subscribers over there. Well, not memberships yet. We're going to get you subscribers first. But we're trying to get you those subscribers. Got to reach that 1,000 mark. I think lots of people are going to love this conversation. Hop over there and spend the time to find out what all you are up to. Where can people find you on this great, big, beautiful web?
You can find me on Floral from Under a Rock. And so one of the things I'm trying to do, just as a little snippet, is because I hate shorts, but I want shorts to at least have some form of redeeming value. So I figure I'll make shorts, at least in the meantime, kind of like the behind the scenes thing. So if you have any questions or thoughts or whatever that you would like me to address, maybe it's about puppets, maybe it's about something we talked about here, I'm more than happy to try and address that all within the span of a minute. And so I'll take on that challenge, and at least for the short term, and see where that goes. Other than that, we got some cool stuff coming up. I'm very excited for what's in the pipeline, and yeah, we'll see how things go. But thank you so much for
when is your live show?
Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we only go for an hour. And so it's again, the point, we don't talk about culture and entertainment so much as we just try to be entertainment and just have fun and try to play games with the chat and all that kind of stuff. And so again, it's just a place to unwind and just mess around.
Fantastic stuff, and it's great to see YouTubers rising, especially those who truly care about their viewers and attempt to bring forth the best content possible. Steve, you are extraordinarily talented, and you are going places, and we can't wait to watch those milestones happen. Well, folks, a milestone has been reached here. This conversation has come to a close, but the commentary side is just beginning. We covet your comments. Drop one down below. Let us know what you think. We covet that, and we care. We want to know. We want to read your thoughts, please. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Say it ain't so. This just in. Disney lost money on another movie. Why, that can't be. I thought that John Lasseter fella over at Pixar was cranking out the latest hits, and Marvel was unstoppable, and Disney princesses were a thing, and Star Wars was a multi-billion-dollar money-making franchise.
I overheard you talking about Disney, and wanted to let you know you're really behind the ball. If you were getting great articles from thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel, you'd actually be ahead of the culture curve and have entertainment explained.